We're in line for item 11.
Item 11 is case S.P.U.D. 1613, application to rezone 4 East Reno Avenue from P.U.D. 692, S.P.U.D. 1326, and downtown parking overlay districts and downtown scenic highway area to S.P.U.D. 1613.
Good afternoon, Mark Zitzow with Johnson & Associates. Address is 1 East Sheridan Avenue. With me today is the developer of the project, the architectural team, and Tim Johnson with our office. This is a really exciting project that we're bringing before you today. One of the early things I'll note is that this SPUD is identical from the one that was approved a couple years ago, with the exception of building height and signage. Building height, what we are asking for, is no different than what any of the other downtown properties have, which is no cap on height. We will, of course, go through all proper permitting for any height that we seek in the future. When it comes to signage, there was a TE that I'll quickly address, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rob to walk through the exhibit package and the project. Staff asked us to revise the signage section. We're in agreement with the exception that we're going to seek to amend the language. I appreciate everyone's patience on this. We did hastily work with the city attorney. I believe we now have language that they are in agreement on. Ultimately, it is the Planning Commission's decision as to whether or not that language moves forward. But where we've arrived with the city attorney's office is signage shall be per the City of Oklahoma City sign ordinance. Developers shall be required to submit an overall sign and video board package where visible from the public way to be reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission with public notice provided in accordance with zoning procedures. The submittal shall include dimensions, locations, elevations, and a visual impact study. The Planning Commission reserves the right of approval or denial based upon the dimensions, locations, visual impacts, light, and sound. The maximum amount of signage shall be per the dimensions shown on pages 13 and 14 of the exhibits. The signage should be restricted to on-premise uses only.
Let's quickly hear from Rob.
Good afternoon. Rob Budetti with AO. I'm the architect for the project. So I think you guys will go through the slides, or do you want me to just explain the project overall? So the project consists of 4 towers, a retail podium, and below-grade parking, and then some above-grade parking. 3 of the towers are 345 feet. One will contain a hotel with about 400 and the numbers here, about 480 hotel rooms, plus another 85 service condos. The other 2 lower towers are residential towers, which will include about 140 workforce housing and about 575, 76 regular market rate residential apartments. And then in the tall tower, which is what we're looking to do to add, is will contain about almost 1,000 apartment units with another 350 or so hotel rooms and an additional 80 or another 100 condos, as well as some retail on the ground floor. Overall, there's about 160,000 square feet of commercial space, which will be for entertainment, restaurant, retail uses. Below grade, we have a 3-level parking structure that is dedicated for the commercial uses. All the parking for the residential, the hotel uses are above grade between the lower podium level and the towers. And so we have dedicated parking assigned for all the residential and the hotel, plus an additional, I think it's about 980 spaces below grade for the commercial use.
Can I ask you the same question that people ask me every time this topic has come up?
Absolutely.
How are you intending to build a tower this tall in the wind and storms and tornadoes of the great state of Oklahoma?
Sure. So I know that came up. Basically, the way it works for these super tall towers, I mean, you've seen them all over the world in high earthquake zones, high wind zones. The way it works is there's a firm or several firms that specialize in analyzing the forces that will be imposed from either a tornado or any wind event. And they're able to calculate those forces is the same that we calculate the forces from a seismic activity or an earthquake. And so those forces are then given to our structural engineer, Thornton Tomasetti, who did Devon Tower here. And I think they've done 3 of the 5 tallest buildings in the world. And so with those design loads, no different than what we have to design for seismically, they will design the building to withstand the loads that are given to them as design parameters. And so, and then the same thing will happen with the curtain wall really is the bigger issue, which is the skin around it. And designing the skin, to sustain those same loads will also be taken care of, through the curtain wall process. And like I said, we're given the design loads and then we design to it. So they're all solvable issues. And so that's just the process that we go through on that.
So how long would construction take?
I think the construction is, for the first piece was roughly 24 to 30 months, which the tall tower will take, I think, an additional 12 to 18 months. I think the timing of the tall towers is still to be determined, whether it is built at the same time or in a phased approach. That will come from the financing conditions.
So would the smaller towers be constructed first?
Yes.
Fully intended, and then?
Yes. So the tall tower may be under construction as the others are finished, or may come, start construction. The current design has the tall towers completely separated. The parking below it is separate, and so it was designed so that it could be built later without affecting the operation of the center for the 3 main towers and the commercial component.
Officially, what would be the ranking? There was a debate when I talked to some staff about where this ranks in the world as far as height.
I think it's
Third.
it'll be number 1 in the country.
All right.
And
we'll take that.
I think it will be number 6 or 7. It changes all the time, and we just found out there's one. They're building I think it's like 6,500 foot tower, I think, in Saudi Arabia right now. So they keep going up, but it'll put you in the top 10 in the world for sure.
Okay, last kind of frivolous question. So how long will it take to get from the ground floor all the way to the top in an elevator?
Well, if you saw our core, I mean, the elevators, they service different floors, and so it probably wouldn't take too long, maybe a minute or more, because the way we do it is certain elevators won't stop until they get to a certain level, and then they service, let's say, 20 or 30 floors at a time. So I think in the plan, we have 15 or 16 elevators in the core to serve the different levels, different uses. So, and then there'll be an observation up at the top level. There's going to be an observation level similar to what they've done at One World Trade Center. So you be a place you can go. There'll be a restaurant up there. So.
And I understand there was some concern from Tinker and perhaps the FAA about the height. Any response?
We haven't received, we saw the stuff from Tinker. We haven't received the formal response from the FAA yet. I checked yesterday. They said they were through 7 of the 10, entities that needed to weigh in on it. And so, once we get their comments, we'll just work through them with them. We believe we're outside the main zone, but just because of the height, I think that they'll have some say in it. But the intent is to work with the FAA to gain their approval. And then I believe that would then carry over into the Tinker Air Force Base, because I believe that the real controlling authority is the FAA on the matter.
Okay. Should I ask my market questions to you or to you, Rob? Who's the best person? My question's about demand.
Demand?
Yeah. Is that you, or is that? Is this if you build it, they will come?
Well, we think so.
What market analysis was done to determine that the great state of Oklahoma needs the world's third? We established as the 3rd largest.
Oh, in the world?
In the world.
It'd probably be 6th or 7th.
Largest in the country.
Tallest in
6th and 7th.
the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you make that determination? Tough question.
Well, I mean, I believe, when the project started, there was a study done, and I think from a hotel standpoint, I think they said you guys are short maybe 3,500 rooms in Oklahoma City, and then on the residential, it really is about lease up, right? And so as they start leasing the first two, I think that's where the timing of the third tower comes in. They do believe there is demand. We've seen it. It is a little bit build it, they will come. I mean, you guys have your new stadiums coming in, the soccer stadium. So we really see that this will be the impetus to really just create an entertainment district. Why not be first? So.
The billboards, the flashing lights, to me, it's a bit tacky for Oklahoma City. We're not Vegas, we're not Times Square. You don't see that kind of fanfare in Central Park in Manhattan. The reason why is because it's a classy part of town. Matter of fact, the only place you see all those flashing lights is Times Square. Too much light pollution can trigger those, the flashing lights can trigger those with sensory issues, even those without.
Any response on the concern about safety? Any requirements as far as tornado shelters that you're aware of? Any other safety concerns that you might want to address about the architectural integrity of the building that were mentioned? Setbacks, that sort of thing.
I'll address the setbacks. I think any good urban design standard in a downtown area would expect a maximum setback instead of a minimum. A 20-foot minimum setback is a suburban standard across the country. So that setback language was already in the previous SPUD, and in terms of Bricktown and downtown, that matches all of the other design review districts to have a maximum instead of a minimum. In terms of the safety, there's a slew of consultants working on this that'll be stamping and sealing all of the plans to ensure that it meets all life safety requirements.
Any questions from commissioners? I'm trying to separate us from the architectural issues so that we can just focus on the sign issues. So if that doesn't make sense to you, we can obviously change it, but I was trying to make the conversation easier for us. So any other architectural questions?
I'll just say in terms of the architectural TE that's in the staff report, we're seeking to add the language at the end of that TE. We're in agreement with all of it. We seek to add excluding areas where video boards or signage exists from that 40% calculation.
There you can see that the opening is basically where it says bar and there's the oval. That's all open. Underneath it's all open. You can see the water. So, although there'll be areas of maybe a little tighter, we also open it back up. So you have some variety of little tighter spaces, a little more intimate, opening up into the big plaza. So, I think that we really wanted to address Reno and seeing everybody walking from games and baseball to really feel welcomed and drawn into the center. So,
real quick, could you speak to the design requirement for? There's been several questions regarding buildings like this, whether it's the 1907, something in between, or the other buildings that are going to come first. They all have to meet the area of refuge requirements,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's a temporary area where during fire or disaster that protects people. It's built to a stronger standard.
Yes.
And
because of the size of this building, the center core is going to be solid concrete, maybe 2-3 feet thick concrete walls. The stairs, so the safety, I know there's a mention about a plane flying into the building. The way they're built today, is a direct result of the outcome of obviously 9/11, and so because of the size of this tower, the core and those areas of protection, probably one of the safer places actually to be in a natural event. So.
I don't know if you're going to catch me at the top on a tornado day.
I will say I had the honor of riding the fire department express elevator to the top of the original World Trade Center, and you ask how long that takes, and it was just a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing flew all the way to the top.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, we'll certainly be excited to see it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, because if it's only the ground floor and then above 80.
Yeah, if it's only the ground floor and then above 80,
Yes,
we're in agreement and we don't need the change.
Okay, so maybe it just, I guess it depends on the wording, so maybe when we get to that point, you can read it back and,
But I'm saying we no longer need the addition if you're in agreement that it's the ground floor and then everything above 80 feet. So it's from floor 2, to the 80-foot mark is where these boards are. Everything above it is transparent and glazed.
okay, so right now it says building facades at a height above 80 feet shall have a minimum transparency of 40% per facade.
That's okay.
About as clear as we can get it, I think, today. All right. But just for the benefit of the public, we are not approving any signs today. They cannot construct any signs without coming back to the Planning Commission. So no one needs to worry that you will suddenly look out your window and see these giant signs on the largest tower in the United States without our approval, because it will be publicly noticed. So you'll have the opportunity to come back and share your opinions with us again. All right, the motion is from Commissioner Powers, is to recommend approval of SPUD 1613 to City Council, subject to the technical evaluation amendments that were read into the record. That motion's been seconded by Commissioner Meek. Please cast your votes. And the motion passes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
From the looks and sounds from this vote and meeting, if Frontier City does add a tower ride or a major coaster and they wanted the height to go above 300 feet, they will need to apply for this type of SPUD and also the LED lighting as well.